Good day, dear viewers. Welcome to Monetary Policy Dialogue Forum. Today, we're pleased to welcome Mr. David Vavra, Managing Partner at OG Research and former IMF expert with extensive experience advising central banks on monetary policy frameworks, exchange rate regimes, inflation targeting, money market developments, and forecasting systems. Our discussion today focuses on integrating Islamic banking into modern policy, monetary policy frameworks, a topic that links Islamic finance with central bank operations, liquidity management, and monetary policy transmission. Dr. Vavra, thank you for joining us today. Let me begin with the first question. In simple terms, why is the development of Islamic banking important for countries that want to broaden access to finance and make the financial system more diverse?
Well, as you said, it's important to make financial system diverse because you want to make it more inclusive. You want to have more ways to connect savers and borrowers. And Islamic finance brings in an interesting combination. It's attractive to people for religious reasons, but also has different risk-sharing characteristics than conventional financial products. Therefore, it may fill in the space that otherwise would be unfilled, and therefore with Islamic products, you are much likely to reach a wider spectrum of population and make them part of the financial system, which is important for the stability not only of the financial system, but the economic prosperity at large.
A modern central bank usually operates through a policy rate, liquidity instruments, money market, and the banking system. When Islamic banks are introduced, what changes for the central bank in practical terms?
The central bank will probably need to have a dedicated Islamic window and run separately conventional and Islamic operations, that is, operations with conventional banks and operations with Islamic banks separately. At the same time, as regards monetary policy or key signals of monetary policy, they will still be transmitted through interest rate, which in an Islamic world would be understood as a rate of return or profit rate. And so from that perspective, little will change, although these terms are not freely interchangeable.
Thank you very much. And your work on inflation targeting and exchange rate management is especially relevant for small open economies. For a country like Uzbekistan especially, how should the central bank balance exchange rate flexibility, inflation control, and financial sector development?
I think all these, there's no really need to balance because all these three elements you mentioned are self-reinforcing. So flexible exchange rate needs developed financial markets, and developed financial markets beget flexible exchange rate. It will be very difficult to function otherwise. And with price stability, again, it's an anchor that helps both the development of financial markets because they know they know how to price their products, and also makes exchange rate flexibility managed because without clear inflation and interest rate signals, it's very difficult to have exchange rate volatility under control.
And last question. How can Uzbekistan avoid a situation where Islamic banks grow quickly but do not have enough safe liquid assets or market instruments to manage liquidity?
Well, this will be one of the big challenges for both the Central Bank of Uzbekistan as well as the Ministry of Finance, because you will need, as you rightly said, enough liquid Islamic instruments like bond instruments, sukuks, for instance. And you will need to be very careful. You will need to carefully watch the liquidity of the Islamic part of the financial system, so that they don't run out of these instruments. At the same time, you will inevitably see a predatory behavior of the conventional banks, who could easily snap up the Islamic instruments and thus deprive them from the Islamic banks. So this will be a challenge to manage, but it's manageable, except that liquidity forecasting and running of auctions will be more demanding. Also, the sukuk program of the Ministry of Finance or the central bank will need to be carefully planned with plentiful issues, regular issues, so that also the commercial banks know when and what is coming, what rollovers there are, and how they can plan their own liquidity. This must be totally predictable and, totally predictable.
Okay, thank you very much for an amazing interview and your time.
My pleasure. Thank you.
Thank you.